Hi, I'm Marianne Mosley from the Pelican Players, and I'm coming to you from one of our newly renovated dressing rooms in the Veterans Theater, home of the Pelican Players Community Theater. The Pelican Players presents old-time radio shows, and today's episode is from November 10th, 1949, originally from NBC Radio, and it's entitled The Aldrich Family. Enjoy the show.
Welcome. Tonight, Pelican Players, your local community theater for the Sun City Center, Ruskin, Waimama, Riverview, Apollo Beach, and surrounding area, has the pleasure of entertaining you with another show by the Pelican Players Radio Theater. The cast is made up of all volunteer local residents. We will introduce the cast following tonight's show. And now, tonight's performance.
Good evening. This is Jeannie Elkins Nash. In 1949 on NBC Radio, I played the part of an 11-year-old girl named Irma on the show The Aldrich Family. I was asked to recreate that role tonight, and I hope you all have fun listening to it. Thank you.
Henry Aldrich.
Coming, Mother. Yes, it's the Aldrich Family, based on characters originated by Clifford Goldsmith, originally starring Ezra Stone as Henry, with Jackie Kelk as Homer. And yes, it's the Jello Family.
Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jello family. Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jello family. That's Jello, yum, yum, yum. Jello puddings, yum, yum, yum. Jello tapioca pudding, yes, sirree.
And now for the Aldrich Family. To an impulsive, wide-awake teenage boy, each new day is like a surprise package. You open it, and all sorts of excitements pop out, as Henry Aldrich knows only too well. The scene opens on one of Centerville's streets. It is about noon.
Here's Gladys's house, Homer. Come up on the porch.
Henry, I can't ask her a thing like that.
Why not?
Because, Henry, she's made enough sacrifices for this dance already.
What sacrifices?
Well, she's going with me, isn't she?
That's a sacrifice?
Henry, have you ever danced with me?
I don't think so.
Well, when it comes to my feet, I'm all thumbs. If I ask her a thing like that, Gladys is liable to back out and leave me flat.
Not if you're casual.
Casual?
Sure. First you say what a nice day it is. Then you offhand say, as though it were the last thing from your mind, Gladys, when your father lends somebody his car, does he usually have a full gas tank, or are we going to have to be stuck for the gas?
That's all?
Sure, I'll ring the bell. Boy, if we're forced to pay for gas, I won't even have enough money left for Kathleen's corsage.
Neither will I. I've borrowed on my allowance clear up to December. My father says I can't have another cent in advance until the next fiscal year.
Homer!
Hi, Gladys.
Hi, Gladys.
Homer, I've been trying to reach you for hours. Come in. My goodness, I'm all out of breath.
Homer, go ahead. Ask her.
It's a nice day, isn't it, Gladys?
Nice?
Sure. Now, do you mind if I ask you a casual question?
Oh, Homer, I've got terrible news for you. I don't think I can go to the dance tonight.
You can't?
No. We just heard that my nephew Michael is arriving this afternoon. And Homer, well, I'm afraid I'll have to entertain him this evening.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry.
But, Gladys, what about, would your father approve of his car going to the dance without you?
Oh, I'm afraid not.
Gladys, isn't there anyone else who can entertain your nephew? Gee whiz, My tuxedo is pressed and everything.
It is?
Sure. I've had our encyclopedias stacked on top of it all week.
Well, wait here. I'll speak to my mother.
Boy, Homer.
You said it. Imagine having some little brat of a nephew come along and ruin everything.
What'll I do, Homer?
What'll you do?
Sure, I can't afford a taxi, and I couldn't ask Kathleen to go by streetcar.
Why not?
Well, because, Homer.
Because why?
Because she has a new gown that you don't go around being seen in public in.
Well, she'll be seen at the dance.
That's different. All the other girls will be in the same condition.
Well, how about me? If Gladys stands me up, I won't have a date at all.
Homer, maybe we can get Gladys a babysitter for her nephew.
Who, Henry? All the established sitters will be at the dance.
Well, you can at least use your brain, can't you?
What good would that do?
Homer, I just spoke to my parents, and they've made plans. I'm the only one who can keep Michael company.
Oh, boy.
I feel just miserable. I have the most heavenly dress for tonight.
You have? Heavenly?
The woman who sold it to me said that in that dress I looked just like Lana Turner.
Lana Turner?
Of course, she might have been exaggerating in certain respects.
And I'm going to miss it? Oh, boy. Look, Gladys. Henry and I have an idea. Come on, Hen.
Sure. We ought to be able to find someone.
What for?
Gladys, we can't waste time explaining. Lana Turner? Oh, boy.
Mother!
Gladys, I'd like you to take these ashtrays up to Michael's room.
Oh, Mother, isn't there anything we can do about tonight?
I'm afraid not. This is the last chance Michael will get to visit us before the end of school.
I know, but he'll be bored stiff. My goodness, why would a boy who's a senior at Harvard want to spend the evening with his aunt who's in high school?
But, Mary, why not? Kermit's out of town. You have no place to go.
Henry, I will not be a babysitter.
But, gee whiz, it'll be good training.
I beg your pardon.
Homer means when you get married and have children of your own, gee whiz, you'll be all experienced.
If you don't mind, Henry, I just as soon learn as I go along. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to fill my pen and write to Kermit.
But, Mary, well, gee whiz.
Henry, why don't we do this? Why don't we just take Gladys's nephew to a movie?
And miss the dance?
We don't have to stay with him. We could park him there and pick him up on the way home.
Homer, the movie doesn't take that long.
Even if he sees it twice?
Homer.
Henry, the picture's all about how crime doesn't pay. It will be very educational.
Homer, we couldn't. We'll just have to get someone to sit with him.
Homer, there's a Gladys on the phone to speak with you.
There is, Mrs. Aldrich?
Mother, did Father say positively it will be impossible for me to have the car tonight?
Yes, dear. The garage is grinding his valves or something. Homer, that girl is still hanging.
Yes, Mrs. Aldrich. Boy, that's the closest I ever got to dance with Lana Turner. Hello, Lana? I mean, Gladys?
Hello, Homer. Have you figured out anything?
No. Have you?
No.
Oh.
Has she?
No.
Oh.
Gladys, couldn't you tell Michael to come back some other time?
Oh, I couldn't, Homer. I might not see him again until graduation next spring.
Graduation?
What's that, Mother? Hold on, Homer. My mother seems to have an idea.
Sure. You know, Henry, her nephew isn't as young as we thought. He's graduating from school this year.
He is?
Sure. And if he's graduating grammar school, he must be darn near 13.
That's true.
Unless he goes to one of those progressive schools where they graduate every year.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, Gladys?
Homer, my mother just made the loveliest suggestion.
About Michael?
Yes, it solves all of our problems.
Oh, boy. What, Gladys? What?
Well, she suggested we take him to the dance with us.
Huh?
Isn't that lovely?
Homer, what's going on?
Henry, Gladys's mother wants us to take her nephew to the dance.
What? Suppose he starts to cry or who knows what.
You think he might? Hello, Gladys?
Homer, don't you think that's a lovely idea?
Sure, Gladys. Lovely. Only, what do we do with him when the music starts?
What?
I mean, I have enough trouble just dancing without dragging along a third party.
I guess you didn't understand. I was suggesting we get Michael a date.
A what?
Homer, what's going on?
Hold on, Gladys. Henry, she wants us to get the kid a date.
A date?
Yeah.
Homer, you couldn't have understood her. Here, give me the phone. Hello? Gladys?
Hello, Henry?
Gladys, when you say date, how do you mean that?
I beg your pardon?
I mean, a date with a girl?
Henry, you're silly.
I am?
What did she say?
I'm silly.
You are?
Well, can you think of anyone suitable, Henry?
Gee, I don't... Hey, Gladys, I've got it. I know the perfect girl for Michael.
You do?
Who, Henry?
Well, that's wonderful.
Henry?
I'll get in touch with her and call you right back, Gladys. Goodbye.
Henry?
What?
Who?
Let's cut through to the Kilmer's yard, Homer.
Henry, do you really think Irma is a good idea?
Why not, Homer? The Kilmers have lived next to us for years.
Well, I know, but isn't she the little girl who always wears that sailor hat?
Homer, I'm sure she'd be willing to take it off to go to a dance. There she is, Homer.
Where?
There, up in the Kilmer's apple tree.
Oh. I wonder how she keeps that sailor hat on, hanging by her feet like that.
Hi, Irma.
Who's that?
Henry and Homer.
Yeah? You know, Homer, you don't look half bad upside down.
Listen, Irma.
Homer. Irma, come on down from that tree.
No,
But Irma...
it's my tree and go jump in the lake.
Go jump in the lake yourself. Come on, Henry.
Homer, wait. Listen, Irma, we've got good news for you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, look out.
Ouch! Listen, Irma, you landed right on my toe.
I said look out.
Listen, you brat.
Homer. Irma, what happens when you take off that sailor hat?
My hair falls down.
It does? Well, couldn't you hold it up with a ribbon or something?
Listen, Henry, are you trying to talk me out of my hat?
No, Irma, no. It's just, well, Irma, how would you like to go to the dance at the country club tonight? Irma?
Irma? Irma, can't you close your mouth and answer?
Me? Go to a dance?
Sure, with a very nice nephew of Gladys Prentice.
With a man?
Sure.
Ooh!
Henry, does that mean yes or no?
Irma, would you like to?
Why, I'd certainly, that is, gee, I'd certainly be delighted to accede to your very gracious inviting of me to such an event.
Homer, did you hear that?
Sure, but I still don't know whether it means yes or no.
Oh, golly, yeah. Mother, wait till you hear where I'm going.
My goodness, Homer, that's wonderful. Irma, what did you say her last name was?
Kilmer.
Do I know her?
I hope not. That is, are you sure there's going to be plenty of gas in your father's car?
Oh, plenty.
In that case, Gladys, what kind of a corsage would you like me to get you?
Corsage? Oh, my goodness, you don't have to, Homer.
I don't?
But as long as you are, don't you agree? Gardenias look very nice on a red dress.
You're wearing a red dress?
I will if I get gardenias.
Is that the one that makes you look like Lana Turner?
Uh-huh.
Oh, boy. I'll bring gardenias.
Well, what kind of corsage do you think Michael ought to buy for Irma?
Irma? He's going to give her flowers?
Oh, my goodness, I should think so.
Oh, well, in that case, daisies would be fine.
Daisies?
She's the daisy type. And Gladys, tell Michael to walk over to Henry's around 7, and we'll have her here.
All right.
Only Gladys.
Yes, Elmer?
Be sure to tell him to look both ways crossing the street.
But Mother,
Irma, please lower your voice. Henry's in the next room, and I don't want him to think I'm beating you.
but Mother, I've already told him I go.
Well, then, you'll just have to tell him you can't. You're much too young to be going to anything like a formal dance.
Oh, I could die. I could just die. Mother, here I am trying to flower, and you're crushing me.
Irma, my mind's made up. You at least have to wait until you graduate.
I could
Oh,
die.
now, Irma.
Oh, I could. I'm going to lock myself in my room and just die.
Oh, dear, please.
Mrs. Kilmer, don't think I'm trying to interfere, but have you looked at it this way?
Henry, it's no use. I could just die.
Oh, Irma. What way, Henry?
I'll be right there all evening, and I won't take my eye off her for a second.
Mother?
Well, I'll think it over.
Hot dog.
Now, dear,
Hazel, I'm home.
now that's your father. Ed, could I have a word with you?
Irma, do you think she'll let you go?
Oh, it's in the bag. I knew I could swing it if I could keep screaming long enough. What time should I be ready? 6?
6?
5:35?
Gee whiz, the dance doesn't start until 8. We'll pick you up at 5 of.
5 of?
Well, okay, make it 7.
Okay. Boy, imagine going to a real formal dance. Guys on the football team I play with will drop dead when I tell them.
What?
Ed!
A child like that? A public dance? Oh, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Oh boy, is that your father?
I'll say.
Irma! Irma, come here.
Excuse me, Henry. I think I have to start screaming again.
Mary, have you seen your mother?
She went next door to the Kilmers, Father.
Yes. Well, doesn't she realize it's practically 7 and we haven't had dinner yet?
Well, she went over to help Henry persuade them to let Irma go to the dance tonight.
Ho, 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 ho. You know, every time I think of little Irma and her sailor hat going to a dance.
I've never seen Mr. Kilmer so upset. My goodness, you'd think Irma has asked to join the Navy or something, the way he's carrying on.
Sam,
In here, Alice.
Sam, you'll have to go over and talk to the Kilmers.
I? Alice, I refuse to interfere.
Sam, all I want you to do is explain that it was very thoughtless of Henry to have made this date for Irma without consulting them.
Alice, if you ask me, the Kilmers are making a great deal more of this than they should.
Oh, now, Sam, let's not criticize. Remember how upset you were when Mary went on her first date?
I? Alice, I was no such thing.
Yes, you were, Father.
Mary, I was...
Don't you remember you locked me in my room?
Mary, please see who's at the door.
Yes, Father.
Sam, can't you at least go over and quiet Mr. Kilmer down?
Hello.
Why, hello.
Say, you're all right.
I beg your pardon?
Well, that is, I'm Michael. This is where Henry Aldrich lives, isn't it?
In a way it is.
What?
I mean, he lives here, but he isn't in right at the moment.
Oh,
But won't you come in?
thanks.
Have a chair or something.
Thanks. I'm not too early, am I?
Oh, no.
Good.
For what?
Why, I was told to be here by 7.
Oh. Oh, you were?
Yes. You know, I was worried for a minute.
Worried?
You know how it is in these arrangements. Sometimes you know what you're getting, and sometimes you don't.
You don't say.
Sure. One time I had a blind date with a Wellesley girl, and, oh, but why talk about unpleasant things? I'm sure you and I are going to have the time of our lives tonight.
You and I?
Yes, sir. If I had ordered directly, I couldn't have asked for a prettier date for the dance than you, Irma.
Thank you, but... Irma? But I'm not... oh, my goodness. Don't tell me you're Gladys's... Oh, my goodness.
What's wrong?
Wrong? Wrong? Nothing's wrong. Excuse me. Mother!
You're sure nothing's wrong?
Mother!
Mary, who was that at the door?
Mother, a terrible thing has happened. Gladys's nephew is old enough to be her uncle.
What?
Just peek into the living room.
Oh, my goodness.
Did you ever see blonder hair on anything?
Alice! Alice, I talked to Ed, and he's much calmer now.
Sam.
I think I might even have talked him into letting Irma go.
Sam.
Father!
What's wrong? You're both white as a sheet.
Father, he said yes. Mr. Kilmer said yes.
Henry.
He thought over what you said, and he's going to let her go.
Henry.
Boy, Father, you're wonderful.
Henry. There's someone in the living room I think you should meet.
The Pelican Players Radio Theater will conclude tonight's show in a moment. But first, Pelican Players is your community theater celebrating over 40 years of providing live entertainment. In 2020, we arranged with WSCQ Sun Radio to provide recordings of our Readers Theater performances to be broadcast and streamed from their station and website on the last Friday each month. Pelican Players consists of all volunteer local talent on stage and behind the scenes. Our members perform in our main stage, Murder Mystery Theater, Cabaret Singers, Readers Theater, Comedy Club, Twig Theater, and Radio Theater Productions. Pelican Players is a 501c3 nonprofit with proceeds from our performances going to scholarships for Hillsborough County students in the arts. To date, we have donated over $600,000 to this endeavor. We always welcome new members who have an interest in performing or helping behind the scenes. Even though headquartered in Kings Point, you do not have to live in Kings Point to become a member or attend performances. For more information, please visit our website, www.pelicanplayersscc.org. And now, Pelican Players Radio Theater continues with tonight's performance.
And now getting back to the troubles of Henry Aldrich. Henry and Homer naturally assumed Gladys's nephew was a child and arranged a date for him with little Irma Kilmer, aged 11. Henry has just learned that the nephew is a Harvard senior. The scene opens in the Aldrich living room.
Henry, there isn't any reason why you just can't go over there and calmly explain to Irma that the whole thing's been a mistake.
Father, couldn't you do it?
I?
Doesn't a boy normally turn to his family when his ship is sinking?
Henry, your ship hasn't even sprung a leak. Besides, Mary's pitching in and helping, isn't she?
Helping?
Certainly. She's putting aside a very important letter she's writing to go with Michael in Irma's place.
Father, she was the one who suggested it.
Just the same, she's solved half your problem.
But that's not the half I'm worried about.
Here you are, Henry. Now handle this very carefully.
What's in that box?
A deep dish apple pie. I just baked it for Irma.
What for?
Well, Sam, a deep dish apple pie can make a child of Irma's age forget a great many disappointments.
But, Mother, I think this goes deeper than any deep dish apple pie. Irma was so excited about going to the dance, she burned her sailor hat.
Now, Henry, if you explain it to the Kilmers, I'm sure they'll be able to handle Irma. Mr. Kilmer wasn't anxious for her to go in the first place.
Mr. Aldrich.
Well, that sounds like Mr. Kilmer now. In here, Mr. Kilmer.
I hope you don't mind my running in without knocking, but Mrs. Kilmer would like to borrow your electric iron.
Oh, why, of course.
She was pressing Irma's dress, and she was so excited she dropped our iron on the floor.
She's excited?
Oh, Mr. Aldrich, this is a night we'll never forget. Oh, you should see that kid of mine. She's growing into a young lady right in front of my eyes.
Well, Mr. Kilmer.
Henry, if she seems to be having some trouble with her high heels, give her a hand, will you?
But Mr. Kilmer.
Oh, dear.
Ed?
In here, Hazel.
Please excuse me for barging right in, Mrs. Aldrich, but I had to speak to Mr. Kilmer right away.
Well, of course, but...
About what?
Now, Ed, before you make a snap judgment, just remember all the other girls will be wearing lipstick, too.
Lipstick? On Irma?
Ed, I want you to see her before you pass judgment. Now, come along. Oh, excuse us, please.
But, Mrs. Kilmer...
But, Hazel, what about the iron?
Oh, I banged ours against the floor, and it works just fine again.
Well.
Gee whiz.
My goodness.
Father, what are we going to do?
There's nothing we can do, Henry. Irma has to go to that dance.
She does?
Oh, your father's right, Henry. It would break her parents' heart if she didn't.
But, Mother, who's she to go with?
Henry, there's only one person we could ask to make the sacrifice.
Who's that, Father? Father? Father! Father! Father!
Irma, are you comfortable back there?
Yes, thank you, Gladys.
Are you, Henry?
Yes.
Boy, Gladys, your father's car sure rides swell.
Yes, but Homer, I don't think my father'd be very happy if he found out you didn't have both hands on the wheel.
He wouldn't?
No.
Does he have to know?
Homer!
Henry,
Yes, Irma?
why did we stop at Kathleen's house?
No reason. There was just something I had to try to explain.
Oh. What was in that box she threw out the window?
Nothing important. Just a deep dish apple pie.
Homer!
I'm using two hands, Gladys. I'm using two hands. All I was doing was trying to smell that gardenia in your hair.
Well, please pay attention to your driving. That's the country club just ahead.
It is? Gladys, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Why, what, Irma?
Well, when you do the box step, do you start with your left foot or with your right?
Why...
Well, the reason I'm confused, you see, in dancing school, sometimes I'm the boy and sometimes I'm the girl.
I think you can start with either one.
You can? You mean it's optional?
Irma, if you'd rather not dance, I wouldn't mind sitting up in the balcony with you.
The balcony?
We could sit behind the ferns and see everything that goes on.
Well...
As a matter of fact, I know a way we can get up without even going through the ballroom, in case there's anyone you'd rather not run into.
Oh, no, I'll dance.
Will?
I wouldn't want to ruin your evening, Henry.
Oh.
Here we are.
Homer, be very careful parking.
Sure. I'll keep my eye on all four fenders.
I think I'll go with Homer. There's something I want to discuss with him.
All right.
Gladys, when you walk on high heels, do you lean forward or back?
I lean straight up.
Boy, there's a swell parking space.
Homer, you've got to help me out.
How? Am I clear on that side?
Yes. You've got to share Irma with me.
Share Irma? Oh, Henry, you shouldn't have said a thing like that when the car was in motion. We're lucky the other car's the same color.
Homer, the only reason I'm in this spot is because of you.
Me? Me?
Sure.
Me?
I'm already in wrong with Kathleen, and if I have to dance all evening with Irma, there isn't a girl in school who'd consider having a date with me again.
Oh, nothing doing.
Homer?
I don't want to grow up to be a hermit either.
But Homer!
Henry, I'm not going to dance in public with that kid.
Henry, where's Irma?
Isn't she with you?
No. Well, she said she was coming out here to borrow a nickel from you to call her parents.
Out here?
Henry, look. Running down the driveway, holding those shoes in her hand. Isn't that Irma?
Oh, gee whiz.
It is.
Homer, do you suppose she overheard us?
Well, she must have.
Irma!
Irma!
Irma, come back! You're getting a false impression.
Here's the Kilmers, Henry. What are you going to do?
What can I do? I'll just have to go in and apologize to the Kilmers.
Was that the only thing you can do?
Isn't it?
Oh, you could leave town.
Homer.
Or move to a different neighborhood.
No, Homer. I'm just going to take my medicine like a man. Come on.
Me? Where?
Homer, you're not going to desert me at a time like this.
Well, Henry, why should both of us take the medicine?
But Homer...
Besides, I have to get back to the dance. As we were leaving, I saw Toby Smith smelling my gardenias.
Okay, Homer. Okay. I'll face it alone.
So long, Henry, old-timer.
Oh, it's you.
Yes, sir. It's I, all right.
Well, come in. I was just about to walk over and speak to your parents.
Yes, sir. That's why I thought I'd better come over first. How is Irma?
She's locked herself in her room. I think she's crying.
She is? Can't Mrs. Kilmer quiet her down?
Oh, Mrs. Kilmer's locked herself in her room as well, crying too.
Oh.
I'm the only one in the house not locked up somewhere. Henry, I don't mind telling you I'm disappointed.
Yes, sir. I don't blame you. And Mr. Kilmer?
And I certainly think an apology is in order.
Sure. That's why I came over, and...
But I'm afraid it'll be quite a while before you can get it from Irma directly.
What?
So, will you accept it from me instead?
But...
It was my fault for letting her go in the first place. She's just a child. We should have known she'd be too frightened to go in.
Well, gee whiz.
And I want you to know, Henry, that when Irma graduates and is ready for her first date, we'd be very proud if you were her escort.
Sure, Mr. Kilmer. It would be a pleasure. Only there's a very good chance I may be in college by then.
You will?
There's a very good chance. But when I get back from college, she'll be graduating high school, and we can certainly discuss it then.
Fine. Well, we have something to look forward to.
Yes, sir, we certainly have. Well, good night, Mr. Kilmer.
Good night, Henry.
Here's hoping you'll be in your living room and ours next week. Good night, everyone.
The Aldrich Family was written by Norman Tokar and Ed Jurist, with music by Jack Miller. Irma was originally played by Jeannie Elkins Nash, who recreated the part of Irma tonight. Others in the cast included Seymour, played by Cliff Kurt, Mrs. Aldrich by Donna Fiore. Henry was played by Jack Perry, and Homer by Kevin Steinke. Barbara Boyle as Gladys, and Jeannie Elkins Nash as Mrs. Prentice. Mary was played by Michelle Whalen, Mrs. Kilmer by Shirley Walker, Mr. Kilmer by Cliff Kurt, Mr. Aldrich by Dan Tackett, and Michael by Jack Stevens. Tonight's play was directed by Jeannie Elkins Nash, with assistant director Rick Swenson. Our sound team is Guy Bailey, Lori Failing, and Kathy Stevens, and post-production by Bob DeAlmeida. The Aldrich Family is brought to you by the Jello family.
Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jello family. Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jello family. That's Jello, yum, yum, yum. Jello puddings, yum, yum, yum. Jello tapioca pudding, yes, sirree.
Be sure to tune in at this same time next week for another sparkling half hour with the Aldrich Family.
We hope you can join us the last Friday